They say about Reb Chaim Kanevsky. They say about Reb Chaim Kanevsky that he would not forget, that he would not remember a lot of things, because although he was a very intelligent person, of course, because he said once that he asked Hashem to remember only Torah and not remember other things. So always, the memory, the hard disk, should only be occupied by Torah, not other things. So in this year, we also have people who don't remember other things except for Torah. That's what we're holding. Baruch Hashem. Good morning to our very dear people over here, our Talmidim. And this year is, we already mentioned the names, Kiddushin, Daf, Samach, Vav, Amud Aleph. We're towards the bottom of the page. And we are in the first wide line, not wide dist. Heichi Dami. Yeah, the line starts with the word Layoishno, and then we say Heichi Dami, right? Of course, we have to give a little bit of a background and summary from yesterday. So before we recap on the very, very interesting, juicy story, but very tragic story, actually, of Yanai HaMelech. So before that, we had the machlokas between Abaye and Rove. And I feel that yesterday, when I was explaining to you Abaye, I was vacillating between two pshatim. I wasn't very clear yesterday, I have to admit. And now I saw that there are really two ways how to explain Abaye in the Rishonim. Yeah, I started talking a little about Tosfos. What did Abaye say? Abaye said that whenever an Eid Echad, when an Eid Echad comes to a person and tells him that there's some kind of halachic fault in the life of that person, you ate chaylev, or your bull has been, the chula has been bila, revia, tyrus, all these things. If the person keeps quiet, then what do we say? Then it's believed. Then we really take the edus seriously. And this is Rashi's pshat. No, this is not Rashi's pshat, actually. That sounds from the Gemara's words ne'eman, which means, although Eid Echad usually is not believed, but if the Eid Echad was met by silence, which is consent on the side of who? The listener, the person involved, then we say that the edus is a good edus. That's one way of understanding it. The other way is more like Rashi says. Rashi keeps saying hodos baldin, which means if the aid is a one aid and the person is smiling away or just not saying no, he's not denying the Eid Echad, then we say that edus is not an edus, but the person is moide. It's as if the person said, I'm the one who really, my tyrus are tome, v'chule, and that does affect other people as well. Yeah, okay. But now, when it comes to marriage, we have to recap. Everyone agrees, not everyone, but Abaye, Rove, and most people agree. When it comes to, I don't like the word marriage in halacha, it's too vague. When it comes to Kiddushin, a person is mekadesh a woman. Do you need one aid or two aidim? Even according to Abaye, you need two aidim. That's a separate story. Dovo shabe'elva. Now comes the big machlokas Abaye and Rove, and that's where we are right now, and that's why we brought that interesting story by Yanai. What did we say about a person who was informed by one aid that his wife was lo aleinu mezane, his wife was mezane tachtov, and he has to divorce her, and he kept quiet? Abaye says same. Abaye says the same as if you tell him about his food or about any other things. Says Tosfos, double shabe'erva. No, that's only about the way in, not about the way out. I didn't mean divorce. I mean way out that she's mezane. Yeah. If there's one aid plus the husband not denying him, that according to Abaye is valid enough, to be mechayiv the person, not within Shemaim, within Odom, the person now has to divorce her. That's according to Abaye. Absolutely. Yes, Abaye, yes. The Sheikh and Rove says no. Rove says if one person tells you, Rove agreed with Abaye about all other areas of halacha. When it comes to anything that's to do with marriage, divorce, znus, status, as we're going to see in today's shiur, halachic status of marriage, like a mamzer, a grusha, a chalutza, says Rove, no. There you need to aid him. I agree with you, generally speaking, I agree with you. The one aid who informs you and you're like not denying him, that's good. It works, whichever reason. That's the formula. One aid plus the person quiet equals aidus or edo, good. Not in marriage and not also in divorce, which means you need two aidim to tell the person the wife was mezane, and only then he's forced to take her out. there was a case, not a case, there's a halacha. The Rava says, if the person says, I believe that as if it was two people, he has like super nemanus by me, then bedine shamayim, he has to divorce the wife even if she doesn't agree. Okay. Why did you bring that story of Yanai Amelech? Right? Very interesting story. Well, one from the whole Ganze Maise, we have to like siphon one part of the story, and that is what? The halachic part. Not the halachic about the tzitz and about the keser, the halachic part about the fact that there was a reason to disqualify Yanai for being a Kohen, not a Melech, a Kohen. Why? Because his mother was captured, was taken captive in Modin by Greek people. So we know that she was with Goyim. Even if she was forced, then she can't marry a Kohen. Later, she married her husband, and she had little Yanush. Then that's bad news. Then there's a cholol. But we said no. Afterwards, it was found out that she wasn't captured, or that she hasn't been with the soldiers. And that point, meaning originally we disqualified her, and then eventually we said, no, she's kosher and she's good. Yeah, and Yanai therefore could be a good melech. So what did they want from his life? Says the Ritva, now Yana, you're behaving like a Meshugan and putting the tzitz outside Beis HaMikdash in a party? You fell off your head, excuse the pun. That's not allowed according to the Ritva. And therefore must be, you're talking a cholol. A person who behaves like that, and you had question marks in you to begin with, sounds like you're not exactly the nicest, the best Kohen that we know, and you're probably a cholol. Now, Rava, let's see how Rava and Abaye view that story, Heichi Dami. Now we are, Baruch Hashem, ripe and ready to see the Gemara Vaita. Heichi Dami. What exactly was the case of that originally they said she went to Modina Nishbes, and then it says, Yevuka Shadova V'loi Nimtza. They researched again, and they didn't find any evidence that she was Nishbes. What's the story exactly? What happened at the beginning? And what happened at the end, halachically? We all know that this is halacha. We don't just believe old wives' tales. People say this and people say that. Probably when they originally disqualified her, there was a real halachic source to disqualify. And later there was another and equally important halachic source to allow her. What were these sources? What was going on? 1A, 2A, what's going on? If you want to tell me the two Adim said that she was captured, and then two other Adim came later and they said, no, nonsense, baloney, no. She was never captured in Modin, and therefore now we believe the second ones. Says the Gemara, Mapitom. What? Ma'achaz is the Somach Tahani, Smoichahani. What makes you believe the second group more than the first group? Maybe the first group are still right, yeah? You have two Adim, you have two sets of Adim, two Kitot of Adim, two Kitei Adim. One of them said she was captured, and they were interrogated, and Beis Din really looked into it. And then another group said, no, she wasn't. They were both integrated. Somebody's lying, but how do you know that the liars are the first one and the second ones are right? That you all of a sudden kosherize her. Maybe the first group is still right. Yeah, that's a kosher. We don't know who to believe, right? And Rashi says something very important here, which I'll tell you later. Very, very big. We're going to read Rashi soon. Ella, I just want to continue with the flow now. Ella beid echod. Which means originally there was one aid, one and only, who said, I saw her. Very religious, good guy. Never plays in the casino. He's a kosher aid, and he said, I saw her being captured by the Greek soldiers. They grabbed her into their den, right? And then came who? Two aidim. And they said, no, nonsense. No, we know that she wasn't captured. Yeah, no, she wasn't captured at all. So obviously, 2 against 1, in halacha, we believe the 2. So what do you see? Now Rava is actually, Rava is now working hard to prove his point. The taima the kamakri shelei bei trei. Sorry, this is Abaye. This is Abaye. This is Abaye talking. The taima the kamakri shelei bei trei. You see that the only reason why one aid is not believed because he was outsmarted, he was outnumbered by 2. Alav hachi. If not for that, let's say one aid would have said that she's nishbes, right? And her husband, her son, whoever's involved would have said, Then what? Meiman. You see, he's believed, says Abaye. You see, the one aid, although the topic here is a topic of erva, it's a topic to do with intimacy, with the status of was she with the goyim or not, and yet you see that the only reason that the one aid is not believed because he was mamish outnumbered later. Mashma that if you don't have those two, only one aid says she's nishbes, then Yana Melech would have been possible. So you see the one aid, although it's a matter of erva, one aid does work. Proves Abaye. Oops. Yeah, very good. That's Abaye's proof. The Rove. So what does Rove? What can Rove say? Now, how would Rove? I'm going to see the Rashi soon, but let's continue Rove. The Rove, what did he say? When it comes to any matter of marital status, relations, all these marriage and intimacy stories, you always need to aid him. How can Rove explain the story, right? According to Rove, how would he interpret the story? Really, there were two Eidim who said that she was captured, and against them, two Eidim who said something else. I'm saying on purpose something else. One aid would not work. Forget about one aid. One aid in Kiddushin, Gerushin, Znus, Grusha, Chalutza, Zoina, nothing. The two people came and said she was captured, and they say she was captured, last Wednesday, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But you know who are the people who denied them, who contradicting them? Which means, as we all know, when do we say that the second group trumps over and pushes away the first group? By Hazamo. Meaning the second group didn't say she wasn't captured. The second group are saying that very same day, Wednesday, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you say you were in Modi'in and you saw her being captured, they schlepped her from Kiryat Sefer to Modi'in or to a Greek village and they took her there. You say, no, at the very same time, Wednesday, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you were not in Modi'in, you were in Haifa, right? Why do we believe the second one? The Torah says, Ba'edim Zomimim, you believe the second group. And that's why it says Rove, there was a good Havamina that she was captured, two Edim. Then came to Mezimim, and the Mezimim were Mezim them, and therefore we know that the first ones are wrong. That's an answer for Rove. But one aid, Rove sticks to his guns. One aid is never good enough with anything to do with Dvar Erva. Veiboisema, another answer that can help Rove. Rabbi Yitzchak. Rove now follows Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak, Shifcha ichnisu tachtea. Something very tricky happened over there. Something very interesting, which means nobody's denying the first two Eidim, actually. There are no two groups of Eidim. There were Eidim, it's the same Eidim who said something, and then they added to their own words, if I understood Rashi correctly. The Eidim said, yes, she was captured in Odin, and nobody denies that. She was captured. I captured. So we know what they do straight away. Lo Aleinu. Yeah, we all daven for the girls in Gaza. We don't know what's going on yet. But Lamaisa, says the Gemara, no. There were two Eidim who were with her, with Yane's mother, before she got married, yeah? And they were protecting her, halachically and physically, which means there were two Eidim, there were two men together with her, right? And now these two Eidim saw that the Greek didn't touch her, yeah? When the Greek got impatient and said, we need the girl for, for the purpose, so then they, instead of the queen, they gave them instead a shifcha. There was another girl with her who was a simple slave girl, and she was the one who was given to them, and could be the Greek thought that they're having the relations with the queen. In other words, the two Eidim were made that she actually was never alone with the Greek soldiers. Yeah, with the Greeks, with the capturers. And therefore, it's okay. So there was a shmua, we know, not a shmua. There are two Eidim who said she was nishbes, and then the two Eidim said, yeah, we are the ones who told you she was nishbes, and we're also saying that nothing happened to her. So how come the Greek were so nice about it? No, we gave them another girl instead. We wanted to save the dignity of the princess, and instead of that, we gave them, unfortunately, a slave girl, and she was with them. Yeah. So now, and therefore, there's no problem here, Bechlal. So Rov is absolutely happy. Nothing to do with Eidechod. Two Eidim. There are two Eidim. Now, let's see Rashi. Rashi here is, yes. Look at Rashi, Dibor Maschil, Smoich Ahani. I was wondering, it sounds very inhumane, 2024, and the Rambam says that you have to treat your avodim nicely and not do that. I don't know if what they did was right or not. All these people there, basically, were not exactly amazing people. But maybe it was. Maybe b'diavad, it's better it happens to a shifcha. Maybe the shifcha was completely goyish. Maybe the shifcha knain is. Again, I don't know if it was the right thing to do morally. I hear you. Who? Shifcha. Look at Rashi. Yeah, four dibur maschils from the bottom of the page. Which means, yeah, what did we say? That the original question which bothered both Abai and Rove is what? If he's saying two against two, the original pshat was what? Two Edim said she was captured, and then two other Edim came and said no, she wasn't captured. Says the Gemara, why do you believe the second one's more than the first ones? Yeah, we don't know who's lying. So therefore, she should be now not kosher. She should be viewed as a non-kosher person, and maybe, yeah, when it's tie, when both sides are like 0-0 in the game, we don't believe any of the Edim, we should disqualify her. Like Rashi, why do you disqualify her? Even if you say two said that she was with Goyim and two people said she wasn't, why is your default assumption is that she is disqualified? And we'll look at the question. Excuse me. Why don't you say this girl, Yana's mother, before she was captured or not captured, she was a good Bes Yaakov girl. She would never dream of going with Goyim. She's Becheskas Kashrus, right? She's held, she's assumed to always be. Okay. So when you have a suffix yes or no, what do? You go with the previous chazaka. So why don't you kosherize her? Why don't you say she's kosher? Yeah, they say about a girl is a good Bes Yaakov girl never talks to boys. Yeah, and what some people say she was Zoina, she wasn't Zoina. Well, two against two. Go back to the original matzav that she's a kosher girl. So why do you disqualify that woman, right? Even according to the Gemara's question, why do you disqualify her? Yeah, answers the Gemara, answers Rashi, a beautiful big yisoid. Hanimili, that would have been true. Ihi kamon. If she was here in Beis Din, she already died or she wasn't there. If she was there coming to Beis Din and the discussion was on her, she was in the limelight, is she kosher to marry a Kohen and not kosher to marry a Kohen? Then you're right. The question is about her. She has a good starting point to kosher chazoko. But that's not the story here. Aval bno ze hanidon en lo chazoko de kashrus. Her son, Yanele, her son, who was born after that questionable incident, he doesn't have cheskas kashrus. In other words, when Yana is born, we already have what? The question came before Yana was born. The question whether she's a Zoina or not Zoina came into the world before Yana's birth. Says Rashi beautiful Yesoid. You can only say go back to the kosher chazaka if there was historically, chronologically, first there was chazaka, kosher, then the question started, question, go back to good old status, good status. Here, that's not true. Before he was born, the question, and they said, Zoina, not Zoina, they didn't decide. Then she got married to a Kohen without finding out the truth, and she gave birth to Yanai. So Yanai is already born after the question already came to our minds. The Mimela, he doesn't have Cheskes Kashrus. Unbelievable. Weiter. Omar Rove. Yep. Rashi with a Roini Shalom this. Omar Rove. Another, not exactly a story, another picturesque discussion. Omar Rove Minah Minala. Says Rove, where is my source from? What did Rove say? That Eid Echad is never believed in Dover Be'erva, right? Even when it's not to do with the Kiddushin itself, right? And even if nobody denies him. One aid is never believed in anything to do with erva, women, and all that. One aid is never believed. Rova takes the statement in dovo shebe'erva pochot mishnaim to a great extent. And the question is, where does Rova know that from? Both of them. Ditnan says the Rova quotes a Mishnah. We're going to see now a discussion between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon. Amar b'Shimon, Mase b'Meguro. There was like a megura is like a pool, a mikveh. There was a mikveh shel diskim in a place called diskim or owned by a man called diskim beyavne in the area of Yavne. Like diskim was inside Yavne. There was a mikveh. Shoysa medes b'cheskas shlema. That mikveh was always assumed to be a kosher mikveh of 40 saw. We know that. In other words, let's say, yeah, good morning. Now is Wednesday. A month ago, the mikveh was tested, was checked by the mikveh attendant, yeah, and by the rabbanim, and the mikveh was checked, and yes, there were 40 saw, right? And so it was up until modedu v'nimtzas chaseira. Today, I'm just saying a month as an example. The Gemara doesn't say it. At some point, let's say today, Wednesday, all of a sudden, Rosh Chodesh Iyar, let's say, they check the mikveh and re-measure it, and oy oy oy, it's chasera. The mikveh is missing, it's not containing now 40 saw, it's containing less, even 39 and a half, even 39.9. It's possible. Mikveh has to have 40 saw. The problem is many people have been to that mikveh between last month and now, right? Let's say a month ago the mikveh was clearly kosher. Now the mikveh is clearly possible. What do you tell all the people who came to the mikveh and they were tmeim, shever tuma, right? Tumas nida, zova. No, zova does a different thing. Yeah. What do you tell them? Are they kosher or not? In other words, do you say that from now on the mikveh is possible, but retroactively, what do you say? Yeah, the entire month that's behind us, is it kosher or possible? And all the people who went there, are they pure or impure? Says the first opinion, which is, yeah, which is Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva. Kol taros shenasu al gaba, yeah, all the tires that were made there, people were toivel, kalim were toivel. By the way, kalim then wasn't for kalim were tummy because they were touched by tuma. Rabbi Tarfon mitaher, Rabbi Akiva mitame. Remember, Rabbi Tarfon is the one that says anything retroactively, yeah, dipping in the mikveh, anybody or anything is tar, is good, fine, good. And Rabbi Akiva says it's tummy. Rabbi Akiva says retroactively, yeah, from the moment that you knew that it was okay, but the moment after that, it's assumed to be tummy. And that's what they say. Rabbi Tarfon says tar, Rabbi Akiva tummy. And now they're going to have a very interesting argument. Amar Rabbi Tarfon. Now Rabbi Tarfon presents his case. Mikveh ze b'cheskas shalom oimed, right? This mikveh, up until now, was muchzak, was assumed that the status of what? Shalom, full, 40%, 40 saw, 100%. Yomed, misafek kataba lechasroi. Now, because of your question, you're coming to retroactively say there was clearly choser and all the people are tameh. Al techasranu misafek. Because all you're doing is because of safek, I don't think that the safek is strong enough to be metame everything. Rabbi Tarfon will explain even more later, but this is the basic idea. And Omar Rabbi Akiva responds, Odom, why are you looking in the mikveh? Why are you looking in the mikveh? Let's look at the person who came to the mikveh 6 o'clock in the morning, let's say, before we measured it, before the disaster happened, and we saw the mikveh is missing, yeah? A person came to the mikveh. Why do people come to mikveh? Because they're bored? Or look at the walls? Why do they come? Because of Tomeh. So the person who came to the mikveh, he's the one which we should be discussing. And what about him? Odom zeh b'cheskas tomehu. A person who came to mikveh came there because obviously before he came to the mikveh, he was tameh. He touched the sheretz and the vela, mace and nida. I don't know what he touched. He's tameh. Yeah. Shechvazera. B'cheskas tomeh oimed. Misofik atabal etaroi. He started off the history. We know that at some point, yesterday, 2 days ago, whenever, he was tameh. That's why he's here in the mikveh, right? So why you start with a good chazaka of the mikveh and you want to make everything nice and pinky and rosy? Maybe look at the person. The person himself is in question, and he didn't start off so well because we know he was tameh at some point, right? Al tetarenu misofik, don't make him tar. Yeah, go back to the chazaka. Yeah, as we saw before in Rashi. Yeah, whenever you have a question, go back to the original chazaka. But which original chazaka? The water that has good chazaka, or the man that has bad chazaka? That's a question. Which one should you follow? And now we're going to see the argument is taking a different kind of direction in order to prove their point. Now they're not going so much they are going misval, but with a proof. They're going to prove it from other areas in halacha. Amar Rabbi Tarfon, says Rabbi Tarfon. You know what I would like to compare that question to? Moshal le'oimi dumakriv al gaba mizbeach. A kohen is standing and he is sacrificing, doing a korban on the mizbeach. Okay, very nice. A kohen is makriv on the mizbeach. Ben grusha ben chalutza. Upa. All of a sudden, 2 Eidim come to the basin of Beis Hamikdash. I'm saying on purpose 2 Eidim. Let's assume so now. Let's just, before I get into trouble, let's speak normal, yeah? Let's say we know now that Mr. Cohen, who's so nicely makriv in the Beis Hamikdash, 2 Eidim come and they say, I'm not saying it's dafka 2 Eidim, I'm just presenting it for now. We all of a sudden know, let's say by Eidim, shu ben grusha ben chalutza. That Cohen who's makriv, oy. His mother was a grusha or chalutza. What does that make him to be? What's his status, Rabbi Isai? His mother was a grusha, and she married his father, the Kohen. Is that nice? Is that a nice thing to do? No. What happens when a kohen marries a grusha? Are the children kosher? No, they may be kosher otherwise, they're not mamzer, but they are a cholol. A cholol. In other words, is a cholol. A cholol is not allowed to work to serve in Beis Hamikdash, right? And yet we say Shavodosoi Kshera. Wow. Which means this is, by the way, something that both Rabbi Tarfon, you have to know that very, very clearly. That halacha, both Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva agree upon, that a kohen which was in the middle of life, discovered to be of bad, whatever genealogy, from a mother who's a grusha, he, from now on, of course, he can't serve anymore. We know for sure that he's the apostle. But retroactively, all the other avoidance he did, that kohen has been there for a whole week. Right? Kohen used to work 1 week, 1 week long. Yeah, Wednesday to Wednesday. So what about all the chatas? Yesterday he brought the chatas of Reuven, and 2 days ago he brought the korban yoledes of Shprin Sabela, and he's a kohen. Do we say that all his previous korbanos are disqualified retroactively? No. We're going, and that everyone agrees to. That everyone agrees upon. Yeah, because as a pasuk we'll see later that tells you that if the kohen is ben gusha ben chalutza, retroactively in the middle of life everything was kosher. From now on, stay home, sit and learn, and play with marbles. You can't go to Beis Hamikdash anymore. Yeah, but retroactively you're okay. Okay, so therefore says Rabbi Tarfon, I think that our case, which you and I are arguing about, Rabbi Akiva and I, says Rabbi Tarfon, I think it's similar, and soon I'll explain why. I think that it's similar to the case of the kohen who's the son of a grusha or chalutza, and therefore just like him, b'di eved, all the korbanos he did were okay. So to here, b'di eved, all the tyrus of the mikvah are also okay. Why is that being compared? We're going to see later. I promise. There's lots of shit. Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, no, I'd like to compare it to a different case of a disqualified kohen. I'd like to compare it to what? A kohen is working right now on the mizbeach, doing whatever, the zrike. All of a sudden come. Now, I'm not saying how many people are coming. All of a sudden we know, one way or the other, that is a Baal Mum. Let's say Kohanim obviously are fully dressed, clearly, like most of us. But let's say somebody, either one aid or two aidim, comes and says, I know that this guy who's standing on the mizbeach, I know that under his shirt, in his belly or in his back, he has a very terrible mum. Something, I don't know what, he has a mum, which you cannot see. Should disqualify him. And what did we say? Shavadosu psula. A person who's found out to be a Baal Mum, somebody with a mum, retroactively, all the korbanos are disqualified. That's a big headache. Now you have to email all the people who've been to Beis Hamikdash with his korbanos. I don't know what you do now, don't ask me. But by the event, all the korbanos that this guy ever did, unless we know there was no mum at some point, but we definitely take some period of history and retroactively we say it's possible. Why? We're going to see a possible. Right. So now let's just summarize so far. Both Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon agree that when you have a question of retroactive psul, retroactive disqualification, both of them agree, because we're going to see psukim. They can't argue. They both agree that a kohen was found out to be of bad, marriage, in that bad, as ben grusha, ben chalutza, bad kohen, but the eved, all the work he did is okay. Yes. And but the eved, on the other hand, a kohen who's a Baal Mum, was found out yesterday to be a Baal Mum, somewhere or the other. But the eved, retrospectively, how do you say retrospectively in Hebrew? Lemafrea, all his work is possible. So the question is, what should we do now? By the Kohanim, the Torah gave us clear guidelines. Now, when you have the story with a mikveh that was kosher at some point and is possible, a month later, what do we do with everything in between? So now Rabbi Tarfon wants to compare it to the kosher case, and Rabbi Akiva wants to compare it to the non-kosher case. These are just facts. I appreciate you're not asking yet, because the Smaras are coming soon. It's one of these Smaras, you first have to get the facts, and then the reasons come, okay? Amar Rabbi Tarfon, Ata dimito leBaal Mum. You compare him to Baal Mum, which retroactively, all the work, all the kodshim work, all the korbanos brought by Baal Mum retroactively are all disqualified. Dani dimisiv leben grusha leben chalutza. I compare that guy who goes to the mikveh or the mikveh itself, whichever. We're medami to what? To a son of grusha or chalutza, that b'di eved, whatever happened in the past, is good, the korbanos that they brought. So said, okay, Reb Tarfon is summarizing it. And now Reb Tarfon says, Nira lemidoime. Yeah, either. Let's see who it's more. As I said, they didn't yet say any svaras. Let's bring svaras to the story. Let's see. Nireh. Let's honestly investigate into this question and see what is this case more logically comparable to the Ben Grusha Chalutza or to the Baal Mum. Who is it more similar to? If the guy who goes to that mikveh and the mikveh is a questionable mikveh and it's similar to Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, which Lamafra is okay, then we'll have the din Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, and then I will agree with you, my friend, that it's kosher b'diavad. And if we see misvara that guy by us, the mikveh person, the tome, is more similar to Baal Mum, which Lamafra is disqualified, we'll disqualify him, yeah, like you. Then Rabbi Akiva started Lodun to bring the svars, to discuss the svars. And Rabbi Akiva, now svars are coming, Mazel Tov. Now we're going to put in svaras into the pattern that we created. Hisra Rabbi Akiva Lodun. Mikveh psuloi beyochid, uBaal Mum psuloi beyochid. Interesting. A mikveh, how many aidim do you need in order to disqualify a mikveh? Let's have one kosher aid. Don't ask me man, woman. Let's say a man to be on the safe side. A man comes, a from normal man comes and tells you, the mikveh is possible. Yeah. So we say, aid, even regardless of a bain rove before, aid echod neman beisurin. We have a concept that aid echod is believed to talk about inyone isur. For example, not an example, the source. The source, it says in the Torah, we saw it not so long ago, a woman who counts the 7 clean days, the Shiva Nakim, the Sofrolo, Shiva Nakim. The Sofrolo, she should count for herself 7 clean days. In other words, I don't want to be rude, but when a woman goes, wherever she goes, and however she does it, that's not for now, and she checks and she comes out to her husband, yes, I had a clean bdika, clean white. Yeah, and where's the white cloth? Oh, I threw it, I'm sorry. We believe her. Why do you believe her? Maybe she's lying. She has very, very strong interest over here, right? She wants to be with her husband. Why do you believe the woman? She's a regular woman. She's not a Gdola Sador. That's a Chiddush. The Torah was Mechadish V'Sofra Lo. When it comes to Inyone Isurim, as opposed to money, and don't ask me now about Erva, that's a different story. But when it comes to Inyone Isur, then 1/8 is good enough to qualify, and Koshkin to disqualify. So when a person comes, and he's not denied by other people, and it's all community, he comes and he tells everyone in the community, I checked the mikvah and it's possible. 1/8 is good enough for that. 1 second. U'Baal Mum psule beyochid. Oh, Baal Mum also. Oh, here comes Chiddush. Baal Mum. I told before 2 people. There was like general assumption. Now Rabbi Akiva wants to say not like that. Rabbi Akiva says no. A Baal Mum can be disqualified even if there's one person who's made this Baal Mum. Let's say for technical reasons, you can't tell the guy, as we'll see later, to take off his shirt. He's in the middle of Mikdash. And one Ed says, I know he's a Baal Mum. I know that this guy under his shirt, I saw him in the mikveh. I saw that in his belly he has some terrible mum. Yeah? He's believed. Oh, so because both mikveh and Baal Mum, they share a common denominator of being believed by one aid, so therefore I'd like to compare the mikveh to Baal Mum. The Al Yochiach ben Grusha ben Chalutza, shepsulo bishnayim. Ben Grusha ben Chalutza, dover sheba'erva, Ben Grusha ben Chalutza is the Inyan of marriage, women, intimacy, relations. In other words, when you want to come and tell me that if someone, a Kohen, is a son of a Grusha, you need 2 Eidim for that. So because of the number of Eidim is more similar to Baal Mum than to Ben Grusha ben Chalutza, I'd like to compare the mikveh in question to Baal Mum and not to Ben Grusha ben Chalutza. And therefore, I would say Baal Mum, but the Evet Lamafrei retroactively, it's possible, says Rabbi Akiva. Yes. Yeah. Another point, another common denominator between the mikveh and the kohen was Ben Grusha, who was a Baal Mum. Dover acher, mikveh psuloi begufoi, Baal Mum psuloi begufoi. A mikveh is a physical psul. The psul we talk about now, you're right there, it's what you said, but the psul we talk about in this sugi originally is when you have less water. It's something very visible and very clear. It's visible. Tim McKenzie can also see it, doesn't know what it means, but he sees his lesson for what he saw. Baal Mum also psula begufoi. Baal Mum, at the end of the day, is a very physical thing. Does he or doesn't he have mum? Al yuchiach ben grusha ben chalutza shepsul me'acherim. Ben grusha ben chalutza, the psul is not physical, technical in his body. The psul comes from other people, meaning his mother. His mother, she basically messed up his life. That is not a coin. And therefore, I would like, for those two reasons, I would like to compare our story, our question of the mikveh that started off good and ended up bad, right? I'd like to compare it to who? Dafka to the Baal Mum. Just like Baal Mum is retroactively possible, so to the mikveh, retroactively, all the people who've been there in the last, let's say, month, let's say it was a month between the two checkups, they all have to go to the mikveh again. And all the food that they touched is really tome, and it's big problems. The chayiv korban, I guess, if the woman was with her husband and she didn't go to a good mikveh, they were mishamish, they had relations together, and it's a lot of trouble. Omale, now Rabbi Tarfon, not only Rabbi Tarfon agreed with Rabbi Akiva, he even gave him this famous, beautiful, moving line. Omale Rabbi Tarfon, Akiva, kol ha'porosh mimcho ki porosh min ha'chaim. I love your svara so much. Whoever detaches himself from you, it's as if he's detaching himself from life itself. Wow. Get what Rabbi Tarfon is saying? What? Of course it's a compliment. It's a strong compliment. He's saying, he's calling him Akiva, not Rabbi Akiva as a friend. Yeah, he can say Akiva to Rabbi Akiva. It sounds funny to say it, yeah? He says, Akiva, you're such an amazing Talmid Chacham, such svaras. Akiva, whoever parts from you, whoever goes away from you, it's as if he goes away and departs from life itself. So Bekitz, at the end of the day, happy end. Happy end. Both Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva both agreed that Rabbi Tarfon basically regretted his original opinion. He revoked what he said. And now everyone agrees, one big happy family. Everyone agrees that Ben Grusha, that the mikveh is compared to a person who's Baal Mum, right? And therefore, just like Baal Mum, all the korbanos they did are bad news, so to the mikveh. Now, Adkan, end of Mishnah. Now, we're waiting impatiently because somewhat, Rava is waiting here on the side, if you remember, to prove what? What did Rava say? Remind me. Rava said that when you have in yonim of erva, or in yonim of marital status of all types of erva, znus, kiddushin, gerushin, you name it, you always need two people, right? To have one person, even with like a silent consent of the person, which is not necessarily a dom, not good enough. You need to have two edim. Echidami. Rava is now basically zoning in, focusing of one point that was mentioned before. We said before that a ban, that a, what's his name, that a Eid Echod, we said, is good enough to disqualify a mikveh, okay? And Eid Echod is also good enough to disqualify the Baal Mum, yeah? Right? Says Rava, let's read well the Mishnah. What exactly was the story with one Eid being good enough? What one Eid can say you're Baal Mum? What's the story? Let's say the person who's standing on the Mizbeach, accused by the one aide, hey, you, get off there, get off the kevish, get off the ramp, freeze right there. I know, I saw in the mikveh yesterday, you have a horrible big blemish on your stomach. Now, if he's makrish and he says, nah, baloney, you're lying. If he's makrish, yeah, in other words, the person, the coin is, don't tell him to take off his clothes, that would come later. Okay? If that's your question, I promise you that will be discussed. He can't take off his clothes on the Mizbeach. Yeah, this is not Tel Aviv, yeah? I'm saying, so now what? So now, right now, there's a question, shall he stop the korban, right? If the Kohen says, I'm sorry, talking nonsense, I'm not about moon, and in half an hour's time, we'll finish my vote, I'll go to a private place and I'll show it to you. Me, Meiman, why should the one Eid be believed? What did we say time and again and again and again, and the Ritva stressed it? Eid Echod, even when he is believed, is never believed if anybody denies him. Even Baldovo. If an Eid Echod comes to you and tells you all kinds of fantastic things, and you say, you Eid Echod, they're talking nonsense, he's not believed. Okay? So if Eid Echod is met with resistance, then Eid Echod is not believed to say it's Balmum. Ela de Shosik. Must be that person, the one Eid, the Eid Echod came and said, hey, that coin, you see that coin? He's talking loudly. The coin can hear him. You see that coin over there on the Mizbeach? He's a shtik Balmum. And the Kohen is smiling sheepishly and not responding, which could be interpreted in all kinds of ways. And what did we say? He's possible, because that everyone agrees to. Both Abba and Rav agree. Matters that have nothing to do with women, right? Then if the aide says you're possible and you're quiet, We don't start asking questions. We interpret your silence, as you said yesterday, the word in English, silence is agreement, is consent. Okay, so far so good. Now Rav is building up his proof. But the Kavose, a similar case would be Gabe ben Gush or ben Chalutza. The Shati. Look at that. Obviously, ben Gush or ben Chalutza and Balmum, they have to have the same mechanism. They're different in halacha, but have the same details. So let's say you have one aid who's made on a ben Gush or ben Chalutza, and that ben Gush or ben Chalutza keeps quiet. Yeah, the second case. An aid comes to Beis Hamikdash. I'd like to speak to the manager. That coin over there on the ramp on the kevish, who's so nicely Yiras Shemaim puts the volume of the Tomid. I know for sure, 100%. His mother was a grusha. His mother's chalutza, and the kohen, we said, keeps quiet. So we see that when you have one person, the kohen keeps quiet. What did we say? Let's continue. What did we say about such a case? Viktani, we saw in the Mishnah. Mikve psula beyochid, balmu psula beyochid. Okay, that we know already. The al yochiach ben grusha ben chalutza shepsula b'shnayim. Boom, crescendo shnayim. You see that when it comes to ben grusha or ben chalutza, the only psul that he has are two people, meaning even if you have like balmum, one aid, and he's keeping quiet, by balmum is disqualified. But ben grusha ben chalutza is not disqualified. You see that even in such a case, when he just keeps quiet, only two aidim disqualify him. That's exactly like I'm saying, says Rove. Again, let's repeat. Rove is proving his point. Rove is proving his point that whenever we talk about marriage in choloif and shu, for example, this is the case ben grusha ben chalutza. It's erva, it's women, it's relations, it's birth. Yeah. So now says Rove, look what we're saying over here. The case of the balmum had one aid that was met with silence, one aid plus silence. I agree with you, my colleague Abaye. When it's not about women, it works. One aid plus, silence equals psul. Great. What's the second case? The second case we say shnaim. In other words, when we have two people and he's not denying them, actually it doesn't matter if he denies, only then he's possible. Mashma, the one aid, right, who says that he's ben grusha and the Kohen says nothing, then he's not disqualified. We still see we require two people. So you see the Kitzur very clearly says Rove that one aid plus silence, when it comes to disqualifying, for example, because of grusha, do with marriage, divorce, and all that, you see that it doesn't work. You always need two people, which is exactly what I said all along, says Rove, and that's in fact is my source. That's what Rove says. Abaye, how will Abaye respond? Yeah, what's Abaye's response to that? Abaye Omar le'olam dekamak rishlei. Wow. Abaye says, no, you read the Mishnah right from the start the wrong way. Really, when the case of the Baal Mum, we start off with Baal Mum and then we talk about Grusha ben Chalutza. In the case of Baal Mum, the person who's an Eid Echad says, hey, mister, you're Baal Mum, get out of there, get off that ramp now, get off the Mizbech, you're Baal Mum. And the guy, the Kohen, is Makrish and says, no, I'm not a Baal Mum. Why is he believed? Why is the aid believed, right? We always said one aid who's facing resistance even from one person is not believed. Here's a special case, Shlach Achvi, because he can tell him, mister, why are you arguing with me? Take off your clothes and show us. You're so sure of yourself that your stomach and your back look absolutely perfect and nice, good, and you have no mum, you're a model, then what? Then take off your clothes, not now, take off your clothes, come with me right now to the dressing room, to the bathroom, which they had in Beis Hamikdash actually, and show me, right? Which means, Rashi and Tosfos say, because this business can be verified, that question of one aid versus another person denying can be verified. As long as we don't verify it, we do believe the Eid Echad. If an Eid Echad tells us, listen, I know that this guy's Balmum, I know that the mikveh, whatever that is, and somebody denies the Eid Echad, but if that denial can be verified, can be found out, then we believe the Eid Echad until it's found out otherwise. One second. And therefore, Rav's whole basic premise is he took the rag away from the feet of Rava. In other words, you assumed all the time, there must be it's one aid, and the Kohen is not denying him. And then you built your proof regarding marriage. No, the guy does deny. The Kohen does deny the person who says it's Balmum. But we don't believe the guy, the Kohen, we don't believe the Kohen because we can verify it. So let's play it safe. The Kohen will find time later to go and show us. Up until then, we assume the worst. That's halach, and that's what Tosfos says. Give me 1 second. Dainu diktani, and says Rave, what I'm saying, according to the way I learned the Mishnah, Dainu diktani, mikve psul begufoi, ubalmum psuloi begufoi. Punto, full stop, which means that's exactly what the Mishnah meant. The mikveh is a psul which can be verified visually. You can see it right away. So too, the mikveh you can measure, as you said, you can measure the mikveh, and therefore that's what's comparable. The sheikh ben gusha ben chalutza, you can never really verify physically. You can't take a photo, yeah, and therefore that's what Abai explained. So Rava has a source, but Abai stood his ground too. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Yes, I know mikveh in a certain community in Europe. They have a big problem that it keeps evaporating, and they're trying to deal with it. Minolan. Yeah. Minolan. So now we said the ben grush or ben chalutza davados ksher minolan. Let's just remind ourselves of the simple facts. Both Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva both agreed that ben grush or ben chalutza, let's say it was found out, yeah, that he's possible. We said lemafrea, what he did yesterday, what he did 5 minutes ago is kosher. The psul ben grush ben chalutza only takes effect from now on. How do you know? What's the source? Minolan. Omar Vidu Amar Shmuel. The Omar Kro, it says in the pasuk, it says the kehuna should belong to him and Zaroi Achov and his descendants after him. Zaroi is a very general word, and therefore we say ben zera kosher u ben zera posul. The zera, it says Zaroi without qualification, which means whether the zera is kosher or posul. Of course, they're not allowed to work in Beis Mikdash lechatchila, says Rashi, but lemafrea, even if the zera was found to be posul, but the eved, the work is kosher. Avoid the Shmuel Omar, Shmuel's father, as opposed, is arguing on his son, and he says, Omar Me'ocho, he learns from a different source. It says in the bracha of who? Of Moshe Rabbeinu to the Shvatim, it says about Moshe Rabbeinu to Levi, Barech Hashem Cheloi, Upol Yodov Tirtze. The Pasha Pshat of Baruch Hashem Cheloi, Hashem should bless his chayil, his might, his power. But chayil also reminds us of chol, or chulin, or chalolin, bad kohanim. Says the word of Shmuel, afilu chulin shaboy tirtze, barech Hashem cheloi. Yeah, Paul Yodov tirtze. Even the chayil, choil, yeah, even chalolim, they too are tirtze, but the eved, what they did, the kohanim chalalim, works lemafrea, not lechatchila. You should stop working from this second onwards. But lemafrea, it's good. Rabbi Yanai Omer Me'ocha, there was Rabbi Yanai, not just a nasty king, there was a Choshuva Moira. Rabbi Yanai Omer Me'ocha, Rabbi Yanai says, yeah, you should come to the Kohen that lives, yeah, during your days, your lifetime. What do you mean? Of course you only go to the Kohen, yeah, which lives in your times. You can't go to a Kohen which lived in the past, unless you have a time machine. I don't know if these exist really. I thought it just yeah, gosh idea. So what's the chiddush to go to a Kohen which is during your lifetime? Ela ze kosher v'nischalel. Again, when the Torah is telling me like extra superfluous loshon, the Kohen of your times, it's coming to tell a message. Any Kohen who lives during your lifetime, even if it's cholol, his work but the eved is service, but the eved is good. Now, what about the other halacha? The opposite halacha, Baal Mum, Davados Psulo Minolan. How do you know the Baal Mum? What did we say? Just the opposite. As we said, a person was discovered to be Baal Mum, then retroactively until up until the time he was checked to be okay, then we say Avodos Psula. The Baal Mum's work is retroactively all disqualified. Zoom is also Baal Mum. Baal Zoom just stopped working. Baal Zoom. Baal Mum is Baal Zoom. So, thank you. So nice of you, Zoom. So now, yeah. Yeah. Baal Mum, Davados Psulim Minolan. How do you know the Baal Mum? Yeah, his work retroactively is all disqualified Posul Minolan. Omar Viuda. Omar Shmuel, Rav Yehuda says, B'Shem Shmuel, the Omar Kro, it says, Lachen hineni noisen loy esbrisi shaloim. Yeah. Who is that? Pinchas. Right? Hashem told Pinchas, I'm giving you my bris, my covenant, shalom. We all know shalom means peace. Shalom also means kshehu shalom v'lo kshehu choser, which means he's only called a ben bris, a kohen, when he's shalom. What's shalom? Intact, and not when he's missing something, when he has a physical blemish. Like the Gemara about shalom ksiv, it says shalom, not shalem. Yeah, it says shalom. Why do you learn shalom? Amar Nachman vav de shalom ktiyai. Yeah, if you look carefully in the Chumash, and obviously this is the same Sefer Torah, the vav of the word shalom of the beginning, in the beginning of Pinchas, is like cut in the middle, not cut short. I think in the middle of the vav there's like a white line, right? It's like broken into two. I think so. No, you more than me. Yeah, you have to look. Bekitzer, the vav of shalom is kilo not all there to allude to the fact that we're talking about shalem, whole, intact, healthy. And if you're not a healthy kohen, then you're not a kohen. You're not a kohen at all. I mean, you are a kohen for other things, but not for avoido. And even if your retroactive previous avoido is also disqualified, also possible. Stay there, Baruch Hashem. Next Mishnah in tomorrow. Let's hope I feel better and I'll be able to give the shiur well. Bezos Hashem. Atzlacha uvracha Akiva ben Nechama. Yeah, I'm in your list, please. Akiva ben Nechama for first name. Easy. Akiva ben Nechama. Shalom. Thank you. Thank you to everybody on YouTube and Torah anytime. Shkoyach atzlacha uvracha.